Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, today we are going to talk about the Soundcore Liberty Pro, Liberty Pro Max, two brand new headphones from the people at Soundcore, who I have done a lot of review videos for, and so I like them. I like the Soundcore, so I'm anxious to check these out and see what they're all about. Now, this video is sponsored by Soundcore, but the opinions contained herein are my own, okay? The big claim on these, so one of the big selling points of these guys is that Soundcore says they have the clearest calls of any earbud you can buy. So let's go ahead and get them out of the box and test that and how they sound with music and all of those things, just to really see, okay? All right, so here we have the Soundcore Liberty Pro 5, Liberty 5 Pro. Here we have the Soundcore Liberty 5 Pro. It has adaptive ANC 4.0. It has Anker thus inside, 150 times computing power. It does high-res lossless wireless, Dolby Atmos. It's got all kinds of different stuff going on in here. Now, this model is the less expensive one. It doesn't have as many bells and whistles as the Pro Max has, but it has plenty of bells and whistles. So I have already opened this so to start testing, and they look like this. They've got a little screen on them. Swipe up to unlock the screen. And the screen, you can do several things with the screen. It tells you what your battery level is. It tells you left, right, all that stuff. Ambient sound, you can choose different things, sound effects, Dolby Audio. All of that camera remote right from here. There's also an app for the Soundcore buds that you can use that will allow you to do a lot more customization for these guys. Here we have the Soundcore Liberty Pro Max. These are the flagship of the fleet, as it were. So we've got Whisper Clear Calls, adaptive ANC 4.0, 6 hours of playtime and 28 hours total with ANC on. So that's 6.5 hours of listening time while they're in your ears, and 28 hours including what's inside the case for battery. And fast charging up to 5 minutes, you get up to 4 hours. They are also IP55 water and dust resistant. So you get instant pure silence. Whisper Clear Calls, that's the big claim. Instant pure silence with the ANC, signature sound. And this is like an AI assisted thing where it figures out what sound you like. I'm looking forward to trying that out. And lag free volume control. So let's go ahead and get these guys out of the box and let me show you what we're working with. They come in many colors. I have here this sort of champagne goldy color. I'm not exactly sure what they call it. Always nice presentation with the Soundcore stuff. And you pop it out, and whereas the Liberty Pro has a smaller screen, this guy is pretty large and in charge, as they say. Now that we're hooked up, this is a 1.7-inch AMOLED screen on this case. The Pro Max has everything that the Pro has, but then it also has the Max things. These are not necessarily competing models. They are different choices. It also, both of them have the Soundcore thus chip. It's the first chip that Soundcore has developed themselves, and it drives the four kind of headline features of this: the calls, the ANC, the sound and voice control, and all for the low price of, you never know. You're just going to have to go click the link in the description below. There might be a discount code down there. Who knows? But don't do that until you watch the rest of this. Now, let me tell you how the video is going to go. First, we're going to test the ANC and the sound quality. Just kind of go through a couple of tunes and see how they sound. Then we're going to do controls and the case and the app and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to talk about one feature that's actually interesting that it's included here, but very cool. And that's the AI Notes feature. And finally, we're going to test whether or not they are the clearest calls of any earbud. And to do that, I think I'm going to go like mow my lawn and then call my wife or something like that. Okay, so first I got to put these headphones on. These guys are pretty easy to get in and out of the case. There's a little plastic cover on that side. Once they're out of the case, you place them in your ears thusly. I kind of stick them in and then I twist, and there we go. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Stick them in and twist. And what that does is it takes the wing portion, and you've got several different wings and several different sizes of ear tips in the box. But the wing portion sort of slides up under one of the whorls of your ear and holds the thing in place. All right, so let's go ahead and get back in here. Really, you've got two different things. So here you've got the Pro, here you got the Pro Max. They both have this sliding mechanism. You pull out the headphone like so, you put it in your ear, it hooks right up. And I have to say, these have been some of the fastest Bluetooth headphones to hook up compared to a lot of others that I've tried. They hook up with the reliability and speed I've found so far of the, AirPods Pro, anything like that. And to me, AirPods, because they're so integrated with Apple, I mean, that's kind of the gold standard of how quickly things hook up. So these is a pretty big deal. But you see, you've got your wings and your ear tip, just like you do on the Pro Max, how they drop in. Close up here on the back, you've got your USB-C charging, as well as your manual hold down and get into pairing mode button. On here, the default is to see the charge levels of everything, and then you can swipe to unlock the screen and change sound modes, change sound effects, easy chat, remote camera, which is cool. Bluetooth pairing you can get into here as well. But one thing you'll notice is that the screen on the Pro is decidedly smaller than the screen on the Pro Max. That may or may not be something that you want to deal with. The screen is perfectly functional on the Pro. So if you don't want a big screen that could get scratched or, just happens to activate every time you touch it or anything like that, then maybe the Pro is what you're looking for. Sound-wise, there is really not a difference between these. They have the same internals and all that. There are just more bells and whistles going on with the Pro Max. Inside of the box, pull this out, and in here, you have your ear tips, extra wings, extra ear tips, and a USB-C cable, 6-inch USB-C cable that will charge everything up. And here you've got large, small, and extra small, and then you've got 0 and 2. So they come loaded with the medium and the number 1 wing tips. And if you want to change that after you do some wearing, then you can do that as well. So that slides back in here. Looking at the Pro Max version of the headphones, you see you have a much bigger screen. Then you can get into your ambient sound modes, normal. I believe you have to actually have the headphones in to get into any of these sound modes. Yes. So you have your ANC sound mode, and it's nice that you can pick them right here on the screen itself instead of having to get into the app. You got your adaptive, you got your normal transparency mode, which is a solid transparency mode. In order to get to the AI Notetaker, you connect the box, and then it wants you to log into your account. Once you do that, you have 120 minutes of data that you can use to get your note-taking going. And since I have notes from the Soundcore work, I also can get those notes. So then you tap here and you start recording, and it pops up a whole brand new thing that starts recording, and you can put this in front of somebody if you wanted to, or you could put this in a meeting room if you wanted to do that. If you're a journalist and you're doing interviews, this could be great for that as well. If you ever get to a place where you want to be able to go back to something important was said or something that you want to come back to and fix, you can hit the flag button and mark. So this is one of those added features that you get with the Pro Max that isn't part of the Pro. And that may or may not be something that you care about. But now it's transferring the recording over. Recording is transferred. And we can go back out of the note taker and see that we can change wallpapers. They're all pretty much the same, but different colors. And then you can get into music control. So you can control what you're listening to from right here. You've got your different Soundcore signature sound effects. You've got a custom EQ setting that you can put together. You've got calm and soothing, bass, clear vocals, and back around to Soundcore signature. Now, inside of the app, you can dial in a lot more and do a lot more with EQ than you can right here on this small screen, but it does give you the option to connect and get your sound effects going. You've got multi-device connection. Right now, I only have it connected to my iPhone, but you can add more by hitting this plus button, putting the earbuds back inside and closing the lid, and then pairing them to up to 3 devices. Right here it says up to 2, but inside of the app, you can connect up. You can ask it to connect up to 3. You can do all kinds of different things in the settings. You can control your camera if you have a device that will allow that to happen. I don't know if it's functional with the iPhone. It is. So you can control an iPhone. Obviously, you can control an Android phone as well, which is very cool. And then once you go in from here, you can just slide again across for the different modes. So over here, you've got whatever you're listening to, and then you've got your lock screen, you've got your sound mode switching, and you have your sound effects settings. Now, how do they feel in the ears, and how do they feel in the hands? How is the build quality here? We're working with durable plastics for sure, and everything feels of a good quality. But as you could probably just see, sometimes getting the earbuds in and out can be a little fiddly, and you kind of have to get used to where they want to go in the case. And you'll see that there are some, sensors here and there, but there are magnets on the bottom, and these little pogo pins are what charges them up. And so they're a little fiddly to get out, but we've got nice soft touch silicone on both of the wingtips and the ear tips themselves. And once you kind of get used to how they want to lay in there, you just kind of start to, they want to go in a certain way. I actually like being able to see what my levels are in terms of charge. I like to be able to see easily like what I'm listening to. There's a lot that's really, really functional about this. And so I appreciate that quite a bit. And it does have a quite nice thunk to it. If you're an active person and you want to take these out, as I go out on my morning walks, IP55 dust/water resistance is going to keep them from shorting out or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that as you go out and use them while you exercise. And they do stay in your ear quite well. One of the problems that I've had with a lot of earbuds, but we'll just talk specifically about the ones that I use the most, which are the AirPods Pro 3. The AirPods Pro 3 stay in my ear better than the AirPods Pro 2 did. The new design that they have for the ear tips of those works better, but I still feel the need to kind of every once in a while push them in to get the seal going again. And I find that I don't have to do that as often with the Soundcore Liberty 5 Pro and Pro Max. I mean, they're exactly the same design in terms of form, so the fit is exactly the same. And with the wings that fold up into your ear and having the option to have, a smaller or a larger size, the same thing with the ear tips, they fit really well and they stay in your ears quite well also. I've also found that wearing them for longer periods of time is very nice. They are not heavy, and the mass is kind of centered in right on your ear. So I've got no problem shaking my head back and forth as hard as I can and making myself a little dizzy. But they aren't moving whatsoever. And they remain comfortable whenever I use them for any longer period of time, whether it's out for my walk or using them in the house as I'm doing work or anything. They stay in my ears well, and they are very comfortable. ANC is one thing. That's what is filtered out for me. They also have what is really the flagship feature of these guys, the clear call functionality in terms of what the caller hears. So I'm going to go to another venue and start my lawnmower and start mowing my lawn because it's way overdue, but it's been 100 degrees here in Iowa. And I'm going to do some lawn mowing while I call my wife, and then I'm going to ask her how it sounds. I'm doing my video. And so I need to start to mow the lawn while talking to you and see how clear the voice sounds while I'm doing the mowing. Okay, here I am. I've got the lawnmower running. I'm running over the lawn. Am I still clear? Soundcore says that these are the clearest sounding headphones in a noisy situation of any on the market. Can you hear the lawnmower at all?
I cannot, but your voice went from clear to like this kind of but I can still understand you. I mean, it's almost like you have an S list for your S's, but everything else is clear except for your S's. But I cannot hear the lawnmower.
Okay, so that's good.
Because I'm mowing the lawn. Now I am back from my adventure outside, mowing the lawn while talking to my wife on the phone. And as you heard, she said that she couldn't hear the lawnmower as I was mowing. And Soundcore claims that they have the Guinness World Record for world's clearest earbud calls. And if I can make a phone call while mowing the lawn, they might be onto something. I don't know how the Guinness Book of World Records would test such a thing, but I'm sure there's a way. And that's all fine and dandy, but how do they sound? That's that matters quite a bit. So let's take a few minutes to, I'm going to just use the Pro Max here. Let's take a few minutes to listen to some stuff and give ourselves a little taste test of what these guys are capable of. I'm going to just jump in here, so here's my headphone test list. This has stuff that I know pretty well and stuff that I have listened to quite a bit in terms of really listening critically to headphones that I am assessing. So let's just go ahead and start with the Johnny Cash, a nice acoustic number that should reveal anything that we need to know about any deficiencies that it might have in terms of low-end response or crispiness of the highs, because there's a lot of space in acoustic music. So let's go ahead and turn up the volume. Okay, so I'm at about 50%. I can knock it up a little bit more. One thing that I like about Apple's newest version of the software is you can look at how loud the headphone volume is. And I like to sit somewhere around, between 70 and 80 dB so I don't hurt myself any further than I already have been hurt by sound. Very good separation of the stereo field, two acoustic guitars kind of over on each side, voice straight up the middle, low piano toward the back. We're building to the first chorus. Yeah, very good dynamics. It's capturing all of that. Now for something completely different, we move on to Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, which gives us a more kind of compressed, more electronic, less organic kind of sound where we get to really listen to the crack and the thump of what we got going on here. Now I'm a little bit louder than I would normally want to be. I want to assess the bass sound here and the crack of the snare drum. And there's also the cassava. So all of that is very good. Separated backing vocals, Michael right up the middle. So let's move on. Billie Eilish, Therefore I Am, a newer song. I like this one because it has that sub bass to it that is something that's a lot more common in a lot of modern recordings. And it also has that crispiness of modern music that is sometimes a little rolled off on other kinds of recordings. And I like the song a lot. And it's, again, soundstage as wide as you would want it to be. Bass is deep. And I don't have it on any kind of like real sound, like any kind of real setting. Let's go back to the Soundcore app and see what my setting is here. There's another firmware update. You can do all kinds of different things with this, but I've got this on the Soundcore balanced. So I got Soundcore signature on here. I can roll through clear vocals. You can also get personalized hearing or personalized sound. So you go through this process and you start the test, and then it's a process of telling it which one sounds better, A or B. Now, B here is a little bit more low end. This is less. I'm going to go with B because it has more balls. Okay, this brings the bass levels down. This has got a lot more high end, like 10K, 8K-ish. And then there's more mid-range, like snare drum range. And this is accenting the hi-hats a little bit more. Yeah, I will say I like B better. Seems like it has a little bit more low bass, low mids. It's a little crisper. A is a little crisper. And then just a little bit more mid-range. So I'll click on that, and it shows you what you've chosen, and then it shows you your EQ curve. Now, again, I don't like a lot of bass, so this makes a lot of sense. In the upper mids, that's kind of like the smiley zone, the place where rock music sounds really good, and then it rolls off the highs a little bit. So this, a low mid-range bump plus a little bit more of the high mid-range, say around 4 to 8K bump, and then, kind of tapering down around the 10K mark. That makes sense to me. That looks like what I would choose if I were choosing for myself. So we'll save it and continue our test. Now, that brought the volume down a little bit, actually, for the Billie Eilish, which is fine by me. I've got some hearing loss in my left ear, and so I'm trying these days to be much more protective of my ears. But this is still sounding very nice, very crisp, and I really like it. So let's go on to the next thing. They do get uncomfortably loud if you really crank them. But here's Guns N' Roses. Now, these do cover, and you might have seen in the app, these do support LDAC as well as Dolby Atmos with head tracking. The Thus chip handles all of that. The HearID really does make it possible to get your particular sound that you want. And you can, if you find that you start to listen to music and you don't like what you dialed in for HearID, you can go ahead and do another one and try it again. Or you can just go back to the regular EQ curves that they provide. My honest read on these after listening through to several genres, and I have been listening to these for the past several weeks as well, is that for me, they do compete sound-wise with the AirPods Pro. They do compete with the other players in the market at the price point. And so I would say that with sound being your number one concern, you won't be disappointed with the Liberty Pro or the Pro Max, because they both not only sound good out of the box, but they also have lots of customization. Another thing worth talking about is how is the ANC with these guys? So you see here you've got ANC, I'm at level 5. You flip it into adaptive mode, now it's bringing a little bit more of my voice sound in. There's not as much noise canceling. And then you flip it over to normal, and I can hear myself talking in my head more than I could before. But what really matters, I think, is the difference between transparency mode, which now I can hear myself talking, and while I can still hear that it's coming through the microphones in the headphone, it's still a good enough sound that I could easily carry on a conversation with somebody if I needed to. The ANC is really where this thing makes its bread and butter. The adaptive ANC 4.0 on this is really good. The Thus chip that they've developed for these headphones processes around 384,000 noise data points in real time, which is very difficult for me to comprehend, but it does. I found the ANC to be very, very good. And when you have ANC on and you're listening to something, like, no sound is going to get through. And so let me know what you think down in the comments. Regardless of any of that, I mean, we've gone through touch controls. We've gone through the app a little bit. We've talked about ANC. We've talked about the adaptive mode. We showed the voice recording. Not only do you have all of that, but you also have smart voice control for the headphones and an assistive AI inside that will give you the weather, or you can ask it questions or ask it to tell you a joke. You turn on smart voice control and select your language and then hit, hey, Anker, ANC mode. Hey, Anker, play music. Okay, that works. Hey, Anker, transparency mode. Okay, so you can control this thing by using the voice control if that's something that you want to do. But I have found that Anker listens to me all the time, whether or not I ask her to or not. And now she's still talking to me. I've turned you off. Hey, Anker, turn off. There are touch controls on these as well. You can answer or decline calls with a double tap. Long press rejects the call, but on the right side, you've also got single press. Play pause is a double press. But unfortunately, I can't get it to work. So I'll just do it the old-fashioned way and take them out. There are so many features in these things. The voice recording works incredibly well. Smart translation is not something I could test out because I don't have anybody who speaks a second language around me. The Pro Max case has a 1.78-inch screen, which I wasn't sure I would care for, but I've come to really appreciate that you can change the different widgets on here. You can get into the settings and almost all the things that you can do on the app, but you can also get into controlling your remote camera. You get into music control, as you can do with the widgets that are on the phone, multi-device connections up to 3 devices, and then your AI Notetaker, which if you tap to start recording, it just starts recording. And you sit this guy right here and it'll give you a recording of the meeting or the doctor's appointment or whatever it is that you're doing and need to have a record of. It'll just record that. And when you're done, you go back to the box and the AI Notetaker, and there's what you had. Then you hit the check mark, it finishes recording, and then you can get your transcription, generate intelligent identifications, and you've got your whole thing right here. With the Notetaker, you get 120 free minutes per month of recording for 24 months. So if you don't think you're going to need any more than that, that's going to work for you great. There is a paid subscription if you go above that level, and it's something that you want to use on a regular basis. The battery life, I mean, you've got ANC active, 6.5 hours of battery life, which is competitive with the rest of the market. But you've also got that 5 minutes gives you 4 hours of playback plus wireless charging on this guy. So putting all those bells and whistles aside, what really matters is how do these sound and how do the core functions like ANC work. And I would say that they are incredibly competitive with everything else in the marketplace. The ANC is as good as any that I've tested on earbuds in the past year or so. So they absolutely deserve to be on your list if you're considering new earbuds. Now, the Pro is the value pick. It's got the same call quality, the same ANC, the same sound, the same thus chip. And then the Pro Max is a step up to the larger OLED screen, as well as the AI Notetaker and real-time translation, as well as all of the different bells and whistles that we talked about. Once again, thanks to Soundcore for sponsoring the video, sending these over so I could give them a test and let you know what I think of all the features. I mean, this is probably going to be a very long video because there are a lot of features. Link down in the description if you want to check these out. There's probably a discount. There's probably some things that you might want to see. And thanks so much for being here. Once again, my name's Jason. Till the next time, I'm out.